part 3, what I call sort of a future of stuff we're working on at Crate. Trimble is huge for us. I know we're going to talk more about Trimble tomorrow, but I talk about it all I can right now because we were floored by this technology in 2011, 2010. And we were floored because we had general contractors coming to our projects for the first time, not construction managers, general contractors, with the Trimble, asking for files. We had been begging contractors to use files for almost 7 years and getting very little response. There really wasn't, at first I thought we were just being what I call BIM washed, where people say they would use BIM, but then they wouldn't use BIM. And kind of what I was starting to figure out was there wasn't good technology to take the data from a BIM model and get it into the field. And one of the things that my construction managers and I always kind of gripe about is RFIs, change orders based on dimensional layout busts. It's the carpenter that lays out something at 31 inches instead of 3 feet 1 inch. Mentally, you think about that. It's an easy error to make, especially when he's on the phone half the time. Okay. And we started counting a lot of our RFIs and change orders that are simply based on dimensional busts and blowout, and we realized we have got to figure out how to get the technology of these super accurate models to the slab. How do you lay it out so that they're not reduced to chalk line and tape? Because if you have a 21st century level technology in a Tekla model, you're relying on a 4th century technology level to lay it out in the field. You're at high risk for a cost issue. We had contractors start coming in 2010 saying, there's a device called the Trimble. It will talk to your model. All we need is an export. Let us lay everything out. We saw huge improvements with things like their total stations and devices like the Trimble Nomad. We don't use too many water buffalo. Their unions are really strict, but always taking breaks. The Trimble and Tekla combined have allowed us to do things that, as construction managers, we thought were impossible, like set 400 anchor rods on a project without error. A year ago, 2 years ago, if you'd asked me, could I take the time that we've budgeted to torch base plates on steel columns, cut them off, refabricate them, hammer anchor rods back into place, re-drill them out of the equation of construction, I'd say, no, it has to be in there. That's just human error that's going to occur. Then we had 2 jobs in 2010, very different projects, one in Toronto, one in Pittsburgh, that the contractor used the Trimble to lay out the anchor rods. And they were all correct. And it actually kind of screwed up our erector because he wasn't fully mobilized. He thought he was going to spend the typical 2 or 3 days to adjust all of the product in the field that he'd always done. He's like in his late 50s, so you can't knock him for expecting to spend that labor. He didn't have to do it anymore. Then we saw it being laid out in the field with respect to partitions, and now the crate and barrel architects, they're obsessed about things being laid out correctly. It's the design intent. They're the guys that in the black turtlenecks. When we interview general contractors, the first thing out of their mouth is, do you use the Trimble? And these are guys that think about geometrical proportions and cosmic alignments and everything that'll make you buy spoons and sofas at Crate and Barrel. They want to know if contractors will use the Trimble. They've had Trimble come in and do lunch and learns with us and show us how the Nomad works because they believe in that technology. When you get an architect, a design architect, to believe in something like the Trimble, you are way ahead. They now want to see it, coming into tablet use. We're desperate to get tablets in the field so that, again, we can interface with these models. The models can't stay on a PC in a job trailer anymore. They have to get closer and closer to the place to work. And we're seeing lots of tablets come out. I've got engineers that are trying to Velcro iPads to their arm and take them out, and we're trying desperately to get the data right to the worker in the field. So we're seeing a lot of software and sort of things change over the next 5 years very, very quickly. Visualization is changing radically to the point where we're seeing trade labor take models and visualize how things look, just doing simple rotations and screenshots. It's not the world of CG that we thought it was going to be 10 years ago with really amped up, hyped up model renderings. These are very simple but very basic illustrations that you can do through the BIM platforms. Coordination fascinates us. We're now to the point where we don't have change orders for pipes going through ducts hitting beams. You know, if we see that, we know we've got a major problem, but we haven't seen it in 2 years, that kind of error. The error that we're starting to focus on now is just missed content. Did we simply not add a receptacle onto the wall? We're working very hard with people like Fiatac and Celebri, you know, to force software manufacturers, not Tekla, you know, but people like Autodesk and MicroStation to work more quickly to make sure BIM platforms have some sort of auto-checking system in there. It'll improve code analysis. Target has a fantastic initiative to basically, you know, reduce the time to permit any building, you know, by 50%. And they're well on the way to doing it based on better models, smarter models with respect to codes.